first of all, we also had a breakout session on the resilience in rural mobility, but there were not many attendants. So in the end, we dissolved the breakout session, unfortunately. But it actually gave a nice spread, I think, over the other breakout session, as I saw, since we had like about 20 each. So that was nice, and it gave me the opportunity to roam around a little bit in the different breakout sessions. So it was also nice for a change. So now I first would like to give the floor to the second breakout session on the differences between rural and urban mobility. I'm not sure if
okay. Yeah, I will try to do the wrap up here. Thanks a lot. So I think so we try to focus indeed on the difference between urban and rural travel behaviors by sharing the experience of the results of the surveys in Narni and Kilkenny. And actually was a result, one of the main outcome was that the trends that were start to be observed in Narni and Kilkenny are actually shared not just in Italy, in Umbria region, but also in other part of Europe. So I wanted to I think it's easier if I also share the results of the interactive work that we've done, because I think it's quite visual. I can give you an insight of what we have tried to discuss. So first of all, we tried to see what was the trends that participants were trying to observe in the different part of the area. And we can see that there is a kind of digression in how the urban residents, suburban residents, and rural residents are also different in terms of the preferred means of transport. So you can see that rural areas are move more towards the bottom right part, while the urban areas is more close to the top left part. Of course, there are also some issues because this exercise was a bit difficult and challenges to be done. So we then tried to validate a number of hypotheses, and we tried to make a kind of ranking in terms of how these hypotheses might be spread across Europe. And it was good to see that basically there was a kind of general consensus across the 5 main themes. There might be less consensus on the fourth one that was more looking at the urban part, but basically all participants into our workshop were in agreement in how people, are more dissatisfied with public transport in rural areas compared to urban dwellers, in how the environmental issues are less prominent on travel choices made by rural dwellers compared to urban, and mostly that planning a trip with public transport is far more difficult in rural areas compared to urban areas. And then to conclude, we also tried to brainstorm together a number of recommendations. On the one hand, trying to discuss how to influence more sustainable transport behaviors from rural dwellers. And you can see there are a kind of initiative that were proposed, for example, trying to promote principle of being title of basic level of mobility. This was actually more targeting transport authorities, but also educational programs in school, the promotion of carpooling among different residents, the advertisement and so forth and so on. And last part is we tried to propose a kind of recommendation for transport planners and practitioners. And I think, and then I conclude, we all were in agreement that the level of public transport offer needs to be increased. And this can be done with more funding, with more rural mindset planning. And actually there was a feedback from Serbia that although the Serbia is maybe not one of the European countries, there was basically the similar challenges that could be shared, particularly shared in the eastern part of Europe. So thank you. And this was all from our workshop.
Okay, so I think I will be the next one, talking about the breakout session about tourism and transport. And I must say, Andrea, I'm impressed about your slides. I did not have the time to prepare any slides for the summary, but I will tell you a little about our session. Well, we had some information about the tourism-related aspects of the SMARTA-NET survey from Kilkenny and presented by Brandon, and we talked a little about the situation in Vitseme, Latvia, yeah, we had some input from Raitis Siats from Vitseme, there. And after having an overview about the problems, the situation with respect to tourist mobility, we came to a good practice interview with Tony Armiger from the northern part of Germany, the Schlei region, and the projects SMART-24, which got a huge funding from the German ministry. And he told us how which measures they implemented and which solutions they have started with a focus on tourist mobility for this session. That the whole project is overall mobility 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. And yeah, that was the starting point. And on the basis of this, we discussed about how to how it's possible to integrate tourism and mobility, and the 5 points which I think are most important, or which can be used to summarize the session or the procedure, is that first of all, you have to find together, you have to find good partners, you need a list of stakeholders. It's important to collaborate. If you want to work on tourism and mobility, it does not make sense to do it alone. You need partners. Just don't wait too long. It doesn't make sense if you want to be perfect. It's better to get started, and you need good marketing. And it's very, very important to inform not only the tourists, but also the local inhabitants and the people who work in tourism. This was a very short and brief overview about what we've been doing. There was not that much time, but I think we had about 20 people who were participating in our breakout session. And I hope that you got inspired and that you're that you appreciate it to participate. And if you want to know more about it, just come back to me or to the speakers of my session. Thank you. Or maybe Tony, maybe you could write the link to the SMART-24 project in the chat so that people can look it up there. That would be great. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
So there's group number 4 now.
Yes. Hi, I will share my screen. Okay, so the room number 4, we have discussing about the attitudes towards and barriers for sustainable mobility in rural areas. We have started by a Mentimeter, by asking the participants what behaviors are people likely to change. And we had the options: recycling, littering, consumption, or transport. We compare the results of our small group with the results of with outcomes of a study conducted in the United States, and we reached to the conclusion that transport is the most difficult. Changing for more sustainable transport modes is the most difficult behavior to change among the options we had. Then we asked the participants what types of interventions motivate people to change their behavior, and here the study and the responses from the participants are quite different. In the study, education is not so important to change people's behavior, but for example, here in our small group, education was the second most important
Sorry,
action.
Tiago, could you just go to full screen mode? Because
I'm sorry.
pretty good information on the slide, but we can't see it.
Yes.
Thanks a million. Thank you.
But of course, financial incentives and monetary rewards are also very important to motivate people to change their behavior. And social comparison, so peer pressure and peer, the example from others is also very important, both in the study as well as in the responses by the participants. Then we had a nice discussion about what hinders people to adopt more sustainable transportation modes, and we reached to the conclusion that public transport, as in the surveys, is not always very convenient, not very reliable, and there are less frequencies than in urban areas. Also, the perception, the rural perception is different from the urban perception because, for example, in urban areas, people to walk have a urban continuous, and in rural areas might be more difficult to find to walk and to cycle, as well as the safety perception, if there is no cycle lanes and so on, and the longer distance hinder people from adopting more sustainable modes of transportation. Then there is also when you buy a car, you are dependent by the car. So if you make a big investment in the beginning, then you won't think in other options for traveling, and this is very important in rural areas. But of course, there are some positive outcomes that education can promote the different behaviors for the future, and also the peer pressure and the example from the others is also an important thing to state. And thank you.